I have looked at this bill very carefully. Candidly, it doesn't take long. The bill is only 4 pages long. It passed the House and the Senate on a voice vote. And we are looking obviously very careful. Number one, the victims of 9/11, those people who have suffered so incredibly significantly as a result of terrorism deserve their day in court and deserve full and fair compensation. What this bill says very clearly is if there is state-sponsored terrorism, if a country or a sovereign nation is complicit expressly, directly or indirectly, but complicit in terroristic activities, then victims of that terrorist activity can seek redress, seek compensation. While it does apply to 9/11 victims, and yes, potentially Saudi Arabia, those aren't specifically mentioned. It's about giving victims their day in court for a government that is a sponsor of terrorism.
This bill did pass with significant support in both the House and the Senate. And so I do believe that it has support of the Congress as well as the American people. I know the President is concerned with some of the technical aspects of what that allows people in other countries to do, but I think this is a strong statement that we can make as Americans that we support this effort, and especially with respect to the victims of the 9/11.
Well, our heart goes out to those victims of the families of 9/11. And this is a measure that most people would feel good about voting for, but the President had some very good reasons that he vetoed it. Because Americans are all over the world, and there's a potential for other countries changing their laws in ways that would affect American tourists, American servicemen, American diplomats, and workers. I think caution should be in order. I think we're going to end up watching, if this goes through, if we're not careful, it could really backfire in ways that subject American citizens to things that we don't want to happen.
Well, Bruce, I will vote to override the veto. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I believe we need to support these families. They have been through terrible tragedy. And when we see the direct link with these terrorists in Saudi Arabia, I think it just makes sense to make sure that we have a standard of accountability there. So I want to make sure that that happens. There is the other side that says, well, you know, this has implications for our men and women that are deployed overseas, whether it's in the military or with the State Department or other opportunities where it could affect what might happen from those other governments in a civil suit towards them. I believe, though, that this bill is narrowly focused for just these families and just instances involving Saudi Arabia and the terrorists responsible for 9/11. So I think it's properly narrowed to make sure that it doesn't have ramifications elsewhere.
Well, I think it clearly sends the message that we in Congress are going to put American families first. And the President vetoing this just clearly is not the right path to take us down. And so by sending the message back to the White House that American families should be able to seek justice, should get compensation, rightful compensation for their losses, and allow them to pursue and have their day in court, to me it's fundamental. And glad to see so many colleagues on both sides of the aisle coming together to send the right message to those families that we stand with them.